Sam Acho is with us. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So you always, like this guy right here who's shooting the picture, he's always smiling. You're always smiling too, right?
We got a lot in common, man. So Luke and I have taken the pictures. We went to a school called St. Mark's School of Texas in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we've connected actually on social media a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, man, the roots run deep.
Yeah. So when was your last year at Texas? What year was that?
2010.
2010. So you feel this rivalry, right?
In my bones.
Yeah.
In my bones.
So what do people, Texas fans that ask you that maybe don't know, like Luke doesn't know the rivalry. Well, his dad does, but he doesn't know the rivalry the way you do. What do you like? How do you explain the love-hate kind of thing that we have?
There's no love. It is just
love
hate.
To hate, I should say.
Correct. Like it's just hate. And here's one way to explain it. So Von Miller, I played against him in that rivalry. Obviously, we've played against each other in the NFL. We're both in the Senior Bowl together. I consider Von a friend, and not like, hey, we're texting every day kind of thing, but like we see each other, we say hi.
Right.
But it's not, hey, Sam, or hey, Longhorn, it's hey, T-Sip. That's what he calls me.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'm still like, hey, dude, what is a T-Sip? And I thought we were friends. That's part one. And then part two is the game. I was just asked earlier, they said, man, what's the most memorable college football experience? And I said it was at Kyle Field. I don't know if it was 2009, like probably one of the last years we played there. Maybe it was 2010. And you all were singing, the A&M fans were singing the fight song. And it got to the part where they're swaying back and forth, arm in arm, hand in hand, and they're saying the Saw Varsity's horns off.
Yeah.
But it's not just what they were saying, because I'm like, hey, that's kind of graphic. But also it's the fact that I could not hear the person next. We're about a foot away from each other. I could not hear my teammate next to me. That's how loud that stadium was. I played 9 years. I played nearly a decade in the NFL, played in loud stadiums, right? Seahawks, 12th man. Kyle Field, Texas playing at A&M was the loudest place I have ever played or ever experienced in my entire life. And so the hatred is real.
So how loud do you think it'll be this time? The stadium's a little bigger than the last time you were there.
Yeah.
And the hate is even more.
Yeah, it'll be a lot louder. And I think the reason why is that about 10 or 15, however many years ago it was, people said that this rivalry was over. And I think both you and I, and probably Luke, and a lot of us listening, knew that it wasn't over for good, but it was going to be over for a while.
Yep.
And now the rivalry has been renewed once again. There's 12, 13 years of pent-up aggression, pent-up disgust, pent-up disdain for one another. And now these teams get a chance to face each other again every year. After having not doing it for a long time, I think the place is going to be rocking.
So let me ask you this. I did local television in Houston, and I had to give Texas the same love that I give A&M at that role, right?
Yeah.
At TexAgs, I don't have to do that. I can just be mean, right? How is it difficult?
Be me or be mean?
Both.
Oh, man.
But how difficult is that? Because I feel like when you put the analyst hat on, you can separate the two. Like you can take off that fan hat and put that analyst hat on.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's doable. Here's what I mean by that. So last year I called the Texas game when they played Washington in the college football playoff, the Sugar Bowl.
Sure.
I was on the field doing the Pat McAfee broadcast, megacast. Mind you, I had been watching Texas not only all season, but I called Quinn Ewers' first game a couple years ago. I called a couple of their games throughout the year, watched them for the last several years, knew a bunch of the guys on the team, but also I'm a college football analyst. So I've been watching Washington as well, getting to know those players' stories. I'm looking at matchups, trying to find weaknesses. And before the game, I'm sitting there like, man, I like Washington. And it's hard for me to say that as a fan because, man, I know the guys. I know Coach Sark. I respect those guys. They brought me in to come and speak to the team earlier in the year. Like, I love those human beings. But from a matchup perspective, I like Washington. And so there is a piece of fandom that I think is real, right? You went there, right? I was talking with Nick Saban yesterday, and you could tell he has some dislike for Texas. And I was going back and forth with him. I was like, dude, why am I getting riled up? Well, because there's that little bit of angst. But also there's this idea of, hey, you could actually take the fan hat off, put the analyst hat on, and be an evaluator of talent, of scheme, of abilities, and of programs.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you as an Aggie, and I want you to talk me off the ledge, right?
All right.
As an Aggie, I look at Texas like every year, Texas, I mean, they were really good last year. There's no doubt about it. That's why they're in the playoffs. But they barely got past Houston. They barely got past TCU.
Yeah.
They got a nice schedule in the SEC, in my opinion.
They beat Texas Tech 57-7 in the Big 12 championship.
They did.
Sure we throw that in there too.
Yeah, they did. And then they lost to Washington 2 years ago.
This is true.
So I say that to you.
Michael Penix had had played out of his mind.
He did. And then Texas had a chance at the end.
Sure.
But why will it be different in the SEC?
because Texas beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, a thing that teams don't do.
Yep.
Texas the year before could have beat Alabama, and of course could have, would have, should have, but Quinn Ewers gets hurt. But before Quinn Ewers gets hurt, threw a couple deep bombs to Xavier Worthy over Alabama's defense,
Yep.
And actually missed one early in the game. So I think why it would be different is that Texas beat the SEC champion in their house handily, without, it wasn't a question mark, it wasn't like a close game. It wasn't like, hey, Texas was in control pretty much from start to finish. There were some lulls. And so, number one. Number two, the talent is there. Listen to Nick Saban talk about this Texas team. He says, man, this is the deepest Texas team since Sark has been there. And this is coming off of a team that just went to the college football playoff. And then I think if I'm trying to talk you off of a ledge, I would say that Texas does need to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
They do, right? Excuses are easy to make. You could say, oh, man, Michael Penix Jr. played outstanding. He did. Well, Texas, the defensive backfield didn't play well at all. And they hadn't played well. There have been spurts in the season when they didn't play well. And so that needs to get better. If they don't, they'll be exposed again. And so I think that Texas has a lot to prove. I think that the September 7th, I believe, game it is against Michigan should be a good litmus test, right? Texas plays Georgia. Texas plays before A&M. They play Florida. There's so many matchups that I think A&M will be able to look and say, okay, are they back? But unless Texas goes and beats A&M, none of this conversation will matter.
Well, let me ask you about Coach Elko and what A&M might be this year. Hard team to evaluate because we know they've been close, but bad teams find ways to lose games. Now they have a new head guy.
Yeah, so I think two things. I would love to, you as a Texas guy, talk about, because I'm A&M, I feel like they've been bad for a decade, right? Since Johnny Manziel, it's been like average, but I'm riling up fans right now.
2020 happened.
Okay,
try to take away that for a moment. What happened?
2020 almost canceled season.
9-1, and in an all SEC schedule. Does Alabama count their championship?
Alabama does count.
Okay. Does LeBron count as championship?
LeBron does count.
I just want to make sure.
Okay, good. Okay, but before 2020, what was it? 2016, 2015. But anyways, okay. Yeah. So, but I think the biggest thing for A&M is Mike Elko.
Yeah,
like Mike Elko can coach. I remember like watching Duke. Not even from an offensive perspective, from a defensive perspective, they gave every team they played fits. Look at Clemson.
Yeah.
Right? Like they exposed is not the right word, but like Duke was a force to be reckoned with. And a lot of that can and is attributed to Mike Elko. And so I think of a guy that's been at A&M before, a guy that knows the program, a guy that knows how to win, and a guy that just did it at a place where it hasn't been done a lot. I get excited about what he's going to do and how he's going to build that program back up to where I think it needs to be.
I appreciate your personality and your candor, man.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
And I love watching you on air. You're great.
I appreciate it. Hook 'em horns.
Giggle. Hey, thank you for wearing maroon today.
It was an accident. It was a total accident. I'm wearing my burnt orange tomorrow.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. We'll get you on again, all right?
All right. Thank you.
Sam Acho.